Listen carefully, because what I'm about to reveal will change the way you see women, attraction, and relationships forever. Most men think they understand what women want. They think it's charm, money, looks, or confidence. But the truth is far more shocking, far more subtle, and far more powerful than anything you've ever imagined. Younger women, especially the ones who seem smart, independent, or mysterious, are not asking the questions you think they are. They are testing you, and not in ways you can see, not with obvious words or gestures. They are asking questions you can't answer with a joke, a compliment, or even your success. These questions dig deep. They expose your strength, your character, and your soul. Most men fail these tests without even knowing they exist, and that's why they wonder why women lose interest, why respect fades, and why attraction disappears no matter what they do. By the time this video is over, you will understand exactly how these tests work, what women are really evaluating, and why only a few men ever pass. You'll learn the invisible rules that govern attraction, the silent signals that women notice instantly, and the subtle behaviors that either make them respect you forever or dismiss you without a second thought. This isn't theory, this isn't guesswork, this is the truth most men are blind to, the truth that once you understand it, gives you an edge few men ever experience in their lifetime. Stay with me until the very end, because the insights I'm about to share will shock you, challenge everything you thought you knew, and give you the tools to become the kind of man women notice, respect, and cannot resist. If you've ever felt frustrated, confused, or invisible in relationships, this video is the wake-up call you've been waiting for. You need to understand this from the very beginning. Younger women do not operate on the same visible level as most men think. When you talk to them, when you interact with them, it may seem like you're just having a casual conversation. But in reality, every word you say, every gesture you make, every silence you hold is being observed, measured, and analyzed. They are not just asking questions, they are testing you, subtly, constantly, and often without ever needing to speak. The questions you hear are the surface, the tip of an iceberg, while beneath the water lies a full evaluation of your character, your emotional stability, your depth, and your capacity to handle life. Most men completely miss this, and it is the reason why they wonder why attraction fades or why respect is never fully earned. The truth is, these subtle tests are happening all the time, and if you aren't aware of them, you are failing before you even realize it. When a younger woman engages with an older man, she is not primarily evaluating the obvious things like wealth, status, or physical appearance. She is not simply looking for someone who has a fancy car, a big house, or a smooth way of speaking. Those things might capture her attention briefly, but they do not sustain her interest, and they certainly do not secure respect or emotional investment. What she is really observing are the nuances of your behavior, the way you handle pressure, the way you respond to discomfort, and the way you communicate without words. She is watching for consistency, for integrity, for the invisible signals that tell her who you really are when no one else is looking. Every glance, every tone, every reaction is being catalogued in her mind. And here is the part that shocks most men. She can sense a man's true character faster than he can sense hers. Women have a radar for authenticity that operates beneath the conscious level, and it is ruthless in its precision. Consider this, when she asks a seemingly simple question, like, "What do you do for a living?" or "How was your day?" She is not merely seeking information, she is listening for how you answer under pressure, how you express yourself, how you handle vulnerability. Does your voice shake when challenged? Do you dodge the truth or embellish it? Do you speak with arrogance, or do you speak with grounded confidence? These tiny responses reveal more than any resume or social media profile ever could. She is evaluating whether you are trustworthy, whether you can handle responsibility, and whether you have the mental and emotional resources to navigate life's inevitable challenges. Most men answer without thinking, offering surface-level responses, and never realize that they are exposing weaknesses that she immediately notices. Another critical aspect of this test is patience. Younger women observe how men react when things do not go according to plan. If a situation becomes tense, if a conversation becomes uncomfortable, if a minor inconvenience arises, she watches closely. Does the older man become frustrated or angry? Does he blame others or does he take responsibility? Does he remain calm or does he panic? These reactions are more telling than any grand gesture could ever be. A man who is calm under pressure signals stability and reliability. A man who overreacts or loses control signals risk and unpredictability. And here is the harsh reality. Most men fail this test without ever realizing it. They believe that charm and confidence alone are enough to impress. But women are looking for depth, for substance, for the ability to remain composed when life gets difficult. What makes this even more fascinating is that these subtle tests are often unconscious. She may not even realize she is evaluating you in this way. Her mind is scanning for patterns, for clues, for signals that indicate whether this man is a safe, reliable, and worthy investment of her time, energy, and emotions. Every interaction builds a mental profile of you that is far more accurate than any impression you think you are making. This is why some men are surprised when a woman suddenly withdraws or loses interest. They did not understand that they had been failing these silent tests all along. The lesson here is profound. Attraction and respect are not won through superficial qualities or clever words alone. They are earned through consistency, authenticity, and the quiet demonstration of character over time. This is not to say that men should be calculating or manipulative. On the contrary, the goal is awareness. You must understand that every interaction matters, every choice you make sends a signal, and every response you give either strengthens or weakens the invisible trust she is building in her mind. Once you recognize this, you begin to see the game in a completely different light. You understand that relationships are not won in moments of grand gestures, but in the silent, often invisible accumulation of integrity, presence, and emotional intelligence. You start to realize that being grounded, patient, consistent, and self-aware is far more valuable than any superficial display of wealth, power, or charm. And here is the part that will shock many of you. This awareness creates a new level of control, not manipulation, but mastery of yourself. When you understand that younger women are testing you, you no longer react blindly to every interaction. You respond with deliberate power, essence, calm confidence, and measured action. You no longer seek approval from her because you understand that respect and attraction cannot be demanded. They are earned through quiet, consistent demonstration of who you are at your core. This is the real power, and it is invisible to most men, which is exactly why it is so potent. So, if there is one thing you take away from this, let it be this: younger women are not naive. They are not passive participants in relationships. They are constantly assessing, evaluating, and testing the men around them in ways most men will never notice. And if you are unaware of this, you are handing over control of the relationship to circumstances you do not even understand. Awareness, presence, and character are your only tools to navigate this invisible test. Every interaction matters, every word matters, and every reaction matters. When you grasp this fully, you begin to operate on a level few men ever reach, and suddenly, attraction, respect, and influence are no longer elusive. They become natural consequences of the man you are becoming. Remember this: what women are testing is not your surface, but your substance. What they are measuring is not your charm, but your character. And if you fail to see this, you will never understand why the right women seem out of reach. But if you embrace it, if you rise to the challenge, you step into a level of understanding that transforms every relationship you have, every interaction you experience, and ultimately the way you live your life. Awareness is not just power, it is survival. Awareness is not just influence, it is attraction. And once you see the world through this lens, everything changes. The first question younger women are asking is not a question you can answer with a clever line, a confident smile, or a flashy display. It's not about what you say, it's about what she senses. The first test is trust, but it goes far beyond the simple meaning of the word. It's the kind of trust that penetrates your very presence, your decisions, your reactions, and even your silences. She is asking herself silently, constantly, can I trust him? And this is where most men completely miss the point. They think trust is built in moments of grandeur, in promises, in showing off wealth or connections. But trust is built in moments you hardly even notice, in the small choices you make when no one is watching, in the calmness you maintain under pressure, in the consistency of your behavior over time. Trust is the cornerstone of attraction that no one ever talks about. Without it, everything else is meaningless. A man can have charm, confidence, and success, but if he is inconsistent, unpredictable, or emotionally volatile, she feels it immediately. She may laugh at your jokes, she may flirt, she may even compliment you, but inside, her subconscious is scanning every interaction, every word, every gesture, to see if she can rely on you. If the signals are off, if she senses hesitation, if she senses self-interest over integrity, the connection erodes before it even fully forms. And here is the shocking truth. Most men never realize how many small, almost invisible mistakes they make that break trust. They think attraction is about attention, but the reality is that trust is invisible, silent, and far more powerful than attention could ever be. This trust is not just about honesty. A man can be honest and still fail the test if he lacks emotional stability. Women feel this. They feel whether you can stay composed when life challenges you, when conversation turns uncomfortable, when disagreement arises. They feel whether you can hold your ground without arrogance or aggression. They feel whether you can admit a mistake without defensiveness, whether you can apologize sincerely without making it about your pride. Every reaction is a test, and every subtle behavior contributes to her mental ledger of whether she can count on you. Most men fail without ever knowing why, because they underestimate the power of these invisible actions. Consider the simple dynamics of communication. When she asks a question, she is not merely seeking information, she is observing your response. She notices whether you give thoughtless, reactive answers or whether you pause, consider, and respond thoughtfully. She watches how you handle tension, whether you deflect or take responsibility. She notices patterns, whether your words align with your actions, whether your promises are kept, whether your presence is reliable, even when it's inconvenient. Every man is being judged not just by what he does, but by the depth of character he communicates, in small, almost imperceptible ways. This is where men are blindsided. Trust is never about grand gestures. It is about consistent, deliberate action over time. Here is where the psychological depth of this test becomes even more profound. Women are unconsciously analyzing patterns in behavior. Their brains are wired to detect risk, to protect themselves, to evaluate not only attraction but safety and longevity. Trust is a measure of risk. Can she invest her time, her emotions, her life energy in this man without fear of being hurt, disappointed, or disrespected? This is why younger women, especially when they are discerning, are always scanning, evaluating, and testing. They are not shallow, they are strategic, and they are patient, because trust cannot be rushed. You cannot earn it with speed or force. It grows slowly, quietly, invisibly, in the moments when you are consistent and present, when you act without need for recognition, when your character shows up without effort. Let's talk about emotional intelligence, because this is the unseen bridge to trust. A man who can read himself, who understands his triggers, who can respond rather than react, who can manage his emotions without losing control, is the man who passes this test. She doesn't just want a man who is honest. She wants a man who can be counted on emotionally. She wants someone whose integrity is visible even in silence, whose character is clear even in minor inconveniences, whose presence is steady even when the world becomes chaotic. This is why so many men who are superficially successful fail with younger women. They lack the invisible foundation that trust requires. They focus on appearances, status, and charm, but they neglect the subtle ways in which character is revealed and assessed. Another layer to this is patience. Trust cannot be forced. Women are testing whether you can maintain your integrity and composure over time. Do you react impulsively to provocation, or do you pause and respond thoughtfully? Do you follow through on promises, or do you let excuses dominate your behavior? Every interaction is an opportunity to either build or break trust. Most men overlook the cumulative effect of small, consistent failures. One missed word, one careless action, one moment of inconsistency is all it takes to erode the foundation of trust. And because women are attuned to these patterns, they notice long before men realize there is a problem. Here's what makes this truly shocking. You cannot fake trust. You cannot manufacture reliability or emotional stability. You cannot bluff your way through this test with charm or confidence. Women feel authenticity at a level deeper than conscious thought. She knows if your presence is grounded in real integrity or if it is merely a facade designed to impress. If you fail to recognize this, you are unknowingly disqualifying yourself. If you succeed, if you consistently act with integrity, patience, and emotional awareness, the reward is extraordinary: genuine respect, deep attraction, and a bond that is far stronger than anything superficial. So what does this mean for you? It means you have to become aware of yourself, of your actions, and of the subtle ways you communicate trust. It means paying attention to consistency, to integrity, to emotional stability, and to the silent cues you are sending in every interaction. It means understanding that trust is invisible, silent, cumulative, and far more powerful than charm, money, or status. And once you internalize this, everything changes. Your interactions are no longer random, they are purposeful. Your presence becomes magnetic not because of what you say, but because of the integrity you demonstrate silently. Women notice, they remember, and they respond. Let this sink in. The first question she is asking herself is not about you superficially. It is about whether you are a man she can rely on, a man whose presence is steady, a man whose integrity is unshakable. This is the foundation of attraction, respect, and influence, and it is invisible, it is subtle, and it is devastatingly powerful. Most men never see it, and that is why they fail repeatedly. But when you understand it, when you live it, when you embody it consistently, you step into a level of mastery that few men ever reach. The second question a younger woman asks herself, often without ever saying it aloud, is just as critical as the first, and in many ways even more revealing. She is asking, can he challenge me but also protect me? And when you hear that, it might sound simple, even flattering, but the reality is far more complex, far more psychological, and far more decisive than most men realize. This is the invisible test that separates the men she will invest her energy in from the men she will quietly dismiss. Most men completely misunderstand it. They think that providing security or being agreeable is enough. They think that impressing her with achievements or material possessions will secure her admiration. But women, especially younger women who are selective, aren't impressed by the obvious. They are evaluating your capacity to balance two things at once: strength and gentleness, authority and empathy, challenge and safety. When she considers whether you can challenge her, she is not testing your ego. She is testing your intellect, your emotional intelligence, your ability to stimulate her mind and expand her perspective without diminishing her. She wants a man who can push her boundaries in a way that excites growth, not fear. A man who can make her think, reflect, and question without making her feel unsafe or belittled. This is subtle, almost imperceptible, yet it is one of the most critical markers of attraction. She is observing how you engage with ideas, how you respond when she disagrees, how you handle tension in conversation. Are you rigid and defensive, or are you open and persuasive? Can you introduce a new perspective without creating conflict, or do you react with force or pride? These are the cues that reveal whether a man can challenge her in a meaningful, life-enhancing way. But challenge alone is not enough. This is where most men fail the test completely. A man who challenges without providing safety becomes threatening. A man who excites without grounding leaves her feeling unstable. The protective element is not about controlling her or sheltering her from the world. It is about presence, reliability, and assurance. She wants to know that when life's chaos hits, when stress, uncertainty, or conflict arises, you are a man who can stand firm, who can act decisively, and who can navigate challenges with company, composure, and wisdom. This duality, the ability to challenge and to protect, is rare, and it is exactly what younger women are measuring in every interaction. Think about how this plays out in daily life. When she expresses an opinion that is strong or different from yours, she is observing whether you respond with curiosity and respect, or whether you react with defensiveness or dominance. When she faces difficulty, she is observing whether you can remain calm, provide support without smothering, and inspire confidence rather than fear. When you disagree, she is observing whether you can hold your ground while also maintaining connection and empathy. Every moment, every interaction, every response is contributing to her internal evaluation of whether you are the kind of man who can both inspire and safeguard. Most men never see it coming because it is subtle, invisible, and operates at the subconscious level. This is where psychological depth comes into play. Women are wired to evaluate risk and reward in potential partners, and this dual test, challenge and protection, is the ultimate measure. A man who can provide both signals low risk and high reward. He excites her, he inspires her, and yet she feels safe in his presence. He stimulates her mind and soul, but does not destabilize her emotions. He is a partner in the truest sense, someone who enhances life rather than complicates it. The men who fail this test are either one-dimensional, providing only challenge without stability, or only stability without stimulation. Both are disqualifying, both signal an imbalance that she instinctively recognizes and rejects. What makes this even more profound is that this test is not something you can fake or bluff your way through. You cannot manufacture excitement or stability with words alone. A man who cannot maintain composure under pressure cannot suddenly appear protective when it matters. A man who cannot engage intellectually and emotionally cannot suddenly become challenging in a meaningful way. Authenticity is everything. Women, especially younger women, have an uncanny ability to detect superficiality. They sense whether your strength is grounded in character or inflated ego. They feel whether your protectiveness is genuine care or mere control. They notice whether your challenges are intended to elevate her or to assert dominance. These cues are invisible to most men, yet they are decisive in attraction and long-term respect. Emotional intelligence is the bridge that connects challenge and protection. A man who understands himself, who can read both his emotions and hers, who can respond thoughtfully rather than react impulsively, passes this test. He demonstrates awareness of context, timing, and nuance. He challenges without threatening, and he protects without controlling. He maintains his presence without dominating the space. In essence, he demonstrates mastery over himself first, which allows him to create safety and stimulation for others. Most men underestimate how much women are evaluating this quietly, moment by moment, interaction by interaction. This is why so many men fail repeatedly. They are focused on what they can see or control rather than the deeper qualities that women instinctively measure. The consequences of failing this test are profound. A man who challenges without protection leaves her feeling anxious and insecure. A man who protects without challenge leaves her feeling bored and understimulated. Either way, attraction erodes, respect diminishes, and connection falters. Conversely, a man who balances both, who excites, inspires, and safeguards simultaneously, creates a magnetic presence that commands attention, fosters respect, and cultivates deep attraction. This is why understanding this dual dynamic is not just useful, it is transformational. It reshapes the way you approach relationships, the way you interact, and ultimately, the kind of man you become. So, what does this mean for you? It means you must cultivate both strength and empathy. You must develop the ability to stimulate intellectually and emotionally, while also providing assurance, stability, and protection. You must be aware of how your actions, words, and presence affect those around you. Every interaction is a reflection of your capacity to balance these two critical dimensions. Every response, every gesture, every choice contributes to the evaluation she is silently performing. Awareness, consistency, and authenticity are the keys to passing this test. Remember, this is not about control, manipulation, or performance. It is about mastery of self, awareness of others, and the subtle art of presence. A man who can challenge while protecting demonstrates depth, integrity, and rare emotional intelligence. This dual capability is what younger women are measuring, often without realizing they are even measuring it. And when a man embodies both, he is no longer just attractive, he is extraordinary. Most men have no idea why women lose interest, why respect fades, or why attraction slips away even when they believe they are doing everything right. This is where the fourth key insight comes in, and it is as shocking as it is revealing. Most men fail these silent, invisible tests without even knowing they exist. They are blind to the subtle dynamics that govern human connection, blind to the fact that every word, every reaction, and every small behavior contributes to an internal evaluation that women, especially younger women, perform effortlessly. What shocks most men is that they can appear confident, charming, and successful, yet fail repeatedly in relationships simply because they are unaware of the depth and nuance of what is being measured. Women are not superficial when they test men. They are calculating, instinctive, and highly perceptive. They measure risk, reward, integrity, and emotional stability, often without conscious thought. And because most men focus on the obvious, status, charm, money, they overlook the invisible signals they are sending. A careless word, a slight hesitation, a moment of defensiveness, or an inconsistent action can undo weeks, months, or even years of effort. The shocking reality is that these failures are not immediately visible. A man may believe he is succeeding, that he is charming and attractive, while all along he is unknowingly failing the subtle tests that determine long-term respect and connection. This is why many men are frustrated, confused, and disillusioned. They are trying to win on the wrong battlefield. Consider this: a younger woman is assessing not just what you say, but how you exist in the world. She observes your patterns, your reactions, your patience, your self-control. She notices how you respond when things do not go your way, when discomfort arises, and she challenges you. She is not keeping a mental scoreboard consciously, but her mind is cataloging everything. Every inconsistent action, every lapse in judgment, every moment of weakness accumulates into a conclusion. Is this a man I can rely on? Most men never see this accumulation happening. They are too focused on outward success, oblivious to the subtle ways they are disqualifying themselves. This unconscious evaluation is relentless. It is continuous. Even when a woman appears disengaged or casual, she is still observing, still analyzing, still testing. She is measuring alignment between words and actions, between confidence and humility, between challenge and protection. A man may think that he is doing enough by showing up, providing for her, or being entertaining, but these surface-level qualities cannot compensate for inconsistency, emotional instability, or lack of integrity. Attraction is not maintained by occasional grand gestures. It is sustained by the quiet, consistent demonstration of character that aligns with the unspoken tests she is performing every day. The psychological reality of this is profound. Women are wired to detect subtle inconsistencies because their evolutionary survival depended on accurately reading the character of those around them. They are highly attuned to patterns, reliability, and emotional cues that most men cannot even perceive. They can sense a man's fear, insecurity, or lack of awareness before he has a chance to mask it. They can feel the difference between superficial confidence and true composure. And when these invisible signals fail to align with what they are looking for, attraction erodes, respect diminishes, and deconnection fades, even if the man believes he is doing everything right. Most men fail because they are reactive rather than proactive. They respond to situations emotionally, defensively, or impulsively without considering the long-term implications of their actions. They focus on immediate validation rather than building the invisible foundations of trust, challenge, and protection. They believe charm and confidence are enough to carry them, but they underestimate the unconscious, continuous evaluation that determines whether a woman invests in them emotionally, mentally, and physically. This failure is invisible, cumulative, and devastating, and it is why so many men struggle to maintain meaningful, lasting connections. Another key point to understand is that failure in these invisible tests is often subtle. It may not be dramatic or obvious. A small lapse in consistency, a minor reactive moment, or a failure to respond thoughtfully can tip the scales. Most men overlook these small failures because they are preoccupied with larger, more obvious actions. Yet these tiny missteps accumulate and can completely undermine attraction and respect. This is why self-awareness is critical. Awareness of your reactions, your patterns, and your emotional control is not optional, it is essential. Without it, you are navigating a minefield blindfolded, and the consequences are frustration, rejection, and confusion. The consequences of failing without knowing it extend beyond the relationship itself. They erode confidence, they reinforce insecurity, and they create a pattern of repeated disappointment. Men begin to believe they are unlucky, that women are unpredictable or superficial, or that they are somehow fundamentally flawed. But the truth is far more empowering. Most men fail not because of innate flaws, but because they are unaware of the invisible dynamics at play. Once awareness is achieved, once you understand what is truly being evaluated, the path to success becomes clear. This is why understanding these silent tests is transformative. It shifts the battlefield from superficiality to substance, from luck to strategy, from frustration to mastery. What makes this insight truly empowering is that it is actionable. Awareness allows you to adjust, to grow, and to consciously demonstrate the qualities that women are evaluating unconsciously. Consistency, emotional stability, integrity, patience, presence, and self-mastery. These are the invisible currencies of attraction and respect. Once a man begins to operate with this awareness, he no longer fails blindly. He begins to navigate interactions deliberately, to respond thoughtfully, and to build trust and respect in a way that is invisible to most men but unmistakable to women. Let this be clear: the difference between men who are repeatedly overlooked and men who are deeply respected and desired is not about wealth, status, or superficial charm. It is about awareness, subtlety, and consistency. It is about understanding that women are evaluating far more than what is visible on the surface. It is about passing the tests they conduct silently, moment by moment, without theatrics or showmanship. Most men are failing these tests every day, completely unaware, and this is why they are confused, frustrated, and struggling in relationships. The ones who succeed are those who understand these dynamics and consciously cultivate the qualities that matter most. The lesson H. Air is simple but profound. Stop blaming superficial circumstances or external factors for repeated failures. The problem is not luck. And it is not a matter of charm or material success. The problem is awareness and self-mastery. The men who succeed are those who understand the invisible rules, who recognize the silent evaluations taking place, and who align their actions, reactions, and character with the qualities that women unconsciously measure. Awareness is the ultimate advantage. Awareness allows you to see, respond, and succeed where most men fail without even knowing it. And it is perhaps the most powerful of all. Passing these tests, the invisible, subtle, and unspoken evaluations younger women perform, is what creates lasting respect, deep attraction, and influence. Understanding this is not just helpful, it is transformative. It changes the way you interact with women, the way you approach relationships, and the way you understand yourself. Most men live their entire lives without realizing that attraction and respect are not won through charm, money, or superficial gestures. They are won through consistency, self-mastery, and awareness, through embodying qualities that women are evaluating unconsciously, moment by moment. Once you realize this, your entire perspective shifts. Think about it. Women are constantly scanning, evaluating, and testing, often without even being aware of it. Every action, every response, every choice you make contributes to an internal ledger in their mind. And when a man passes these invisible tests consistently, the results are extraordinary. Respect grows naturally. Attraction strengthens without effort. Influence is established not through force or manipulation, but through alignment with the qualities women instinctively seek. This is why some men seem effortlessly magnetic. They are not performing or trying to impress. They are simply aligned with the invisible rules that govern attraction and respect. Passing these tests requires more than just awareness. It requires mastery over yourself. It requires patience, emotional control, integrity, and the ability to respond rather than react. It requires understanding that every word, every gesture, and every reaction communicates something deeper than surface-level intentions. When you consistently act with integrity, when you challenge without threatening and protect without controlling, you create a presence that is magnetic, compelling, and deeply attractive. Women may not articulate it, and they may not even consciously recognize it, but they feel it, they remember it, and they respond to it. This is where most men fail repeatedly. They focus on the wrong things, external displays of success, charm, or attention-seeking behaviors, while neglecting the invisible, cumulative actions that actually determine respect and attraction. They believe that charm can substitute for integrity, or that humor can mask inconsistency, or that material success can compensate for emotional immaturity. But these things are superficial, they are fleeting, they are never enough to sustain long-term attraction or respect. Women are not looking for the surface, they are evaluating the substance beneath it. Passing these tests requires aligning your actions with that substance consistently, not occasionally. One of the most shocking truths is how subtle these tests can be. A minor lapse in patience, a slight defensiveness, a small inconsistency in behavior, all of these can accumulate and quietly undermine attraction. Most men never realize why a connection fades, why respect diminishes, or why interest wanes. They see only the external signals, the surface-level behaviors, while completely missing the invisible foundation that determines long-term success. The good news is that once you understand this, you gain the ultimate advantage. Awareness allows you to pass these tests consciously, to align your actions with what women are evaluating instinctively, and to create a presence that commands respect, inspires attraction, and cultivates deep connection. The power of passing these tests is not just in relationships, it is in life itself. It teaches self-mastery, emotional intelligence, and integrity. It shows you how to operate with purpose, how to respond rather than react, and how to cultivate strength that is both attractive and reliable. It creates a magnetic presence that draws people in naturally, not through force or performance, but through authenticity and alignment with fundamental principles of human connection. This is why men who master these invisible tests are often extraordinary, not because of their wealth or charm, but because of their character, awareness, and ability to consistently demonstrate reliability, composure, and depth. Consider this carefully. Passing these tests transforms every interaction into an opportunity for connection, influence, and attraction. It is not about trying harder or performing better. It is about being better in the deepest sense. It is about cultivating qualities that are inherently magnetic, qualities that women are unconsciously evaluating and craving. When a man embodies trust, challenge, protection, emotional stability, and integrity consistently, he becomes irresistible, not superficially, but fundamentally. The attraction he inspires is deep, lasting, and resilient. The respect he commands is genuine and unwavering. This is why awareness, consistency, and authenticity are the ultimate tools. Awareness allows you to see the invisible tests, to recognize the silent evaluations, and to adjust your behavior consciously. Consistency ensures that your actions align with your words and character over time, building a foundation of trust and respect. Authenticity guarantees that everything you demonstrate is genuine, unforced, and compelling. Together, these qualities create a man who does not need to chase or prove himself, because his presence communicates everything that matters. Most men will never understand this. They will continue to chase attention, validation, and superficial markers of success, wondering why the right women never invest in them. They will remain frustrated, confused, and repeatedly disappointed. But those who understand the invisible rules, the silent tests, the subtle evaluations, and the cumulative power of consistent integrity gain an edge the T is impossible to replicate or counterfeit. They step into a reality where respect, attraction, and influence are natural consequences of the man they have become. Passing these tests is not a one-time effort, it is a lifestyle. It requires mindfulness, presence, and deliberate practice in every interaction. It requires observing yourself, understanding your reactions, and aligning your behavior with the qualities that matter most. It requires patience, because the results are not always immediate. They accumulate quietly, imperceptibly, until one day the woman who once tested you realizes she is fully invested, fully attracted, and fully respectful, not because of what you said or what you did superficially, but because of the man you are consistently becoming. And here is the final, shocking truth. The men who pass these tests do not even realize how extraordinary they are. They are not trying to impress. They are not performing for validation. They are simply aligned with the invisible rules of human connection, demonstrating the qualities that matter most, consistently, quietly, and powerfully. This is why they inspire deep attraction, unwavering respect, and lasting influence. They do not rely on luck, charm, or manipulation. They rely on character, awareness, and mastery of self, the qualities that women instinctively recognize, evaluate, and respond to.